Hello, I'm David Kinder. I'm the head of English at Godalming College, and I'm standing outside the 400s, which is our purpose-built building for English and modern foreign languages. The purpose of this video is for my colleagues and I to give you a taste of what it's like to study English literature at Godalming College. But first, let's have a look at our superb facilities. So this is where we study English literature, English language and language and literature. And you can see it's a nice, bright, spacious area. Good place to read, good place to study, good place just to meet with your friends at lunchtime and have a chat. Okay, so here is a typical classroom, as you can see. It's light and airy. You've got banks of computers to use if you want to on either side of the room. Display boards for us to put your work, and plenty of white space here on the wall for us to put up our ideas, put up your ideas, and for you to write sometimes too. So that's where you're going to be studying. But what about the department? What about our ethos? Well, we are a team of experts. We have 2 members of staff who've got PhDs. We have a member of staff who is a published novelist. We have members of staff who set and mark exam papers, who write articles for e-magazine, which is a professional magazine for students and for teachers. We have members of staff who write books that are published and used by centres and by departments and by students up and down the land. So you're in safe hands with us. But the most important thing we think, and probably the best thing about studying English literature A-level, is the fact that in the end, it is actually down to you and to your critical voice. And that, from the very first moment that we meet you, is really what we're trying to do. To develop your own ideas, to develop your own skills of being able to analyse any text that comes before you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about English literature here at Godalming College. Well, as you can see on the slide here, we have poetry, prose and drama, and that's essentially how the course is split up, with the coursework, which I'll talk about in a moment. Poetry is itself divided into modern poetry, and that's based around this book, Poems of the Decade, a collection of wonderful poems. Some poets you may have heard of, Simon Armitage, Seamus Heaney, people like that, but lots of poets you will not have heard of. A wonderful range there. We study those. We also ask you to come up with your own anthology of poetry during the first term, which we ask you to collect and provide an introduction to. Lots of students enjoy that activity. And we train you through that and through the book to be able to respond to any poem you've never seen before, what we call the unseen. And you would in the end be able to compare the unseen poem with a poem from Poems of the Decade. Alongside that, in the second year, you will study some classic poetry. You will compare 2 prose texts, and you compare them around particular themes and ideas, and that's where some of our great discussions will come in the first year. What is it, for example, that makes us human? Can you answer that question this time? Then we have drama. Well, we have a Shakespeare text, which we study in the first year, but in the second year we revisit it using some literary critical essays, and taking a really almost university style, undergraduate style approach to the text. But in the first year, we also do a modern play. That's Tennessee Williams' Streetcar Named Desire. Fantastic, really lively play. Has had some wonderful recent productions, some of which we will see. And it's something that, again, lots of students really respond very well to. And then the coursework, well, we will teach you a text there. Although we'll be encouraging you, as you will know by now, to read all sorts of books, lots and lots of modern novels, classic novels, and so on. So in the end, although we will teach you a book and give you a range of books to choose from to compare it with, in the end, all you need to do is choose 2 texts of any genre. So there can be poetry, prose, or drama. A lot of students choose novels, and compare them with one single critical comparative essay. Okay, that's the course. I'm going to hand you over now to my colleague Jill Thompson, who's going to give you a little bit of a taster for the taster session, which comes up into Going to Godalming. Over to Jill.
Thanks, David, and welcome to the first part of our sample lesson, condensed down to just 5 minutes. So, I'm going to give you a poetic riddle and wonder whether you can solve it. So I've taken a poem and I've muddled up the lines, and I'm asking you to rearrange the lines in the order you think they were intended to be in the poem. So just have a go. Don't worry about getting it right or wrong. It's just a bit of fun, but see whether you can work out the correct order of the poem. Bit of a clue, have a look at the punctuation marks at the end of each line, and that might just help a little. Okay, off you go. Once you've reassembled the poem in an order that you think makes sense, now choose a number between 1 and 9, not 0, but any other number. Remember your number, and your number corresponds to the line in the poem. So that's going to be the line that you're responsible for, and you're going to analyse it and come up with some ideas a little bit more deeply. So what I suggest you do is get a sheet of paper, write that line in the middle of the sheet, and then all the way around annotate it with some of the ideas that you have. What does it mean to you? What do you think is significant? What is the message of the line? Here are some questions to help you. Is there an image in the line? If so, what is the image? And what do you think the image might convey? Does it represent something? Is it symbolic in some way? See if you can work out what the poet is suggesting. Then think about how you might categorise the image. Can you group it in some way? Have a look at the rest of the poem. Are there images that seem to fit together? And if so, do they belong to a particular category? And you might think why that might be. Does the image appeal to any of the senses? If so, which one? And finally, anything else that you want to say about that line. Don't worry, you don't have to be overly technical, but if you can write a little bit about alliteration or onomatopoeia if it's relevant, or count the number of syllables, anything that occurs to you that might be interesting to bring along later. So here is the order of the poem. How did you get on? Don't worry if you didn't get it all right, but give yourself 1 mark for each correct line and see how you scored. Okay. Now to try to work out the puzzle. If you know the answer, or if you've heard somebody else describe it, don't tell anybody else, and please don't look it up on the internet, because it's an exercise in really deconstructing a poem and think about what it represents. Some of these questions might be helpful. Are the number of lines in the poem relevant? What do they signify? What about the number of syllables in each line? Are they important in any way? Is it constant, line on line? Can you group together the images? Now, you looked originally at categorising your image, but think about whether you can group the images in terms of the bigger picture of the whole poem in some way that perhaps forms a pattern. So have a look at the other images and see if you can see some general belonging there. And what do you think is the significance of the groupings? And finally, try and come up with your own title for the poem. So thank you for attending, and we hope you can come along to one of our online taster sessions where you'll get the answer to the riddle and much more. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
So thanks very much to Jill there for giving you a little bit of a taster of the taster that we hope you will come and enjoy on the 25th or the 26th of June 2020 if you're watching this video beforehand. If you're watching this video afterwards, don't worry, just follow the links that we've sent you via email and you would find yourself onto Microsoft Teams, and on there you will find the resources that Jill used for this little video, for this little introduction, and probably also, if we have time, a video which just takes you on a little bit further, which we will do after the actual Going to Godalming days. But whatever route you've had to watch this, we wish you the very best. We really look forward to seeing you in September 2020. Thanks ever so much.